Okay, welcome to ICT290 for the spring 2017 semester. My name is, which you probably got so far looking through the materials and at the course schedule, is Greg McConnell, and I am your instructor and guide for this course. This is a fully online course taught over 8 weeks and using Blackboard course management system. For those of you who have used Blackboard previous to this, navigating through this course shouldn't be that much of an issue. I try to simplify things in terms of the navigational pieces and components to the course because I don't want that to be an issue in terms of the student learning outcomes. Okay? So what I want to do with this first video is just kind of welcome you all to the course and look at all the information in the Get Started Here area. And this is right here in the menu area here to the left is the Get Started Here area, and that's where we are now. And I want to take you through this and we'll go over some important key features here. I will apologize up front. I came down with a pretty nasty cold over the course of the last 2 days and right before the spring semester starts here. But bear with me, please, as I try to get you through this course material. Thank you very much. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do, of course, is the video that you're viewing right now. I have the syllabus in here. This is the course syllabus in a Microsoft Word format and then a PDF format as well. And the reason I put it in here in both formats is that oftentimes I find that when people are looking at the syllabus from their phone or from a tablet or an iPad or something like that, it's typically more user-friendly to open it in the PDF version. Okay. I will tell you that with this course, I don't typically make changes to the course calendar or anything. But if I would happen to make changes to the course calendar, I will not reflect those changes in either of these two documents right here, but instead I will reflect those changes here on the course calendar, which I pulled out from the syllabus, by the way. So read over the course syllabus first. I would recommend the first day of the course. Make sure that you understand all the expectations of you. Make sure that you understand all of the information housed in the syllabus. If you need accommodations, if there's any other information related to the course and the structure of the course, the grading criteria, the other expectations from you, that is all listed in the course syllabus. Okay. So moving down here, looking at the course calendar, this course is divided up, as I said, into 8 weeks. Week 1 begins on the 9th of January and runs through the 15th. So each week of this course it'll start on Monday, it'll open up, and it'll run through Sunday night. So Monday morning through Sunday night. That's each week. Everything that's covered in here in terms of the topics are what will be covered in week 1, which is again these dates, Monday through Sunday. What is required of you in terms of the readings for the chapter, the textbook, and I'll show you the textbook in a few minutes here as we scroll down the page. And then this is all assessments or activities that you actually have to complete. So just talk about this for a minute. The first week, you'll introduce yourself to the class. I'll show you where to do that. That is a discussion board. Pay no attention to this date right here. I have to change that. I didn't notice that. I will make that change and it'll be live before the class actually goes live. Exercise 1, part 1, another discussion board, and there's a mini quiz. It's on chapter 1. Okay, I think it's 5 or 6 questions. Okay, so that's week 1. All of this must be completed prior to the 15th. Now there's one exception here with the discussion boards. Every week, now not the student introductions, but every week you have discussion boards that are due. Not every week. I think there are 5 weeks, maybe 6 that you do. With those discussion boards, you have to make sure that you post before the end of the day on Thursday of each week. So just, again, to make that clear, you'll have a discussion board. It'll open up on Monday at the beginning of the week. the initial discussion board post, meaning I'm going to give you a prompt. The initial post must be completed by Thursday of that week. The reason for that is you have a requirement to respond to another student's post. Okay? I can't have the discussion board due on Sunday night and then nobody posts the initial response until Sunday night. It wouldn't allow time for the response to another peer. Okay? So again, discussion boards, unless I note otherwise, the initial discussion board post is due on before the end of the day each Thursday. So to open up Monday, you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all day to complete that initial discussion board post. And then your response then to another student, you would have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to complete that. Okay? Okay, so I'm not going to go over all the weeks, but just to clarify here, then week 2 begins on the 16th, which again is a Monday, ends on the 22nd of January, which would be a Sunday. This is the topic area, chapter 2. This is what needs to be completed. Exercise 1, part 2. That's kind of a follow-up to this one up here, part 1. Okay? Then there is another discussion board in week 2 as well. Okay? So then there's week 3, week 4, week 5, 6, and then I combined weeks 7 and 8 together. The reason I do that is we'll get to it later, but it has to do with the flow of the course and the final group project that you have. Okay? So that's it for the calendar and the syllabus. Now here's the required textbook for the course. We will cover this entire textbook. It's not very much. It's not a reading intensive class. You will be expected and required to participate in the readings as they are assigned to you, and the quizzes that you have to take each week are, not each week, there are 3 of them, are directly related to chapters in the book. Okay? We will follow pretty much right through the chapters in the book until we get to the final 2 chapters. You'll notice here in week 5, we skip chapter 5 and go right to chapter 6, and then in week 6 we pick up on chapter 5, and again that's related to your group project as well, because chapter 5 is about presentation tools and how to communicate information to other people, and as I said, we'll get to that later in the course. Okay. Here's a little short video that I put together using Go Animate, and it's just kind of a little fun video, but it explains the process of communication, may address any initial concerns that you have as well regarding communication in this class. Then there's a little bit of information here below the video regarding how to communicate with one another. Really, I see communication as two primary modes of communication: instructor to student, and then student to instructor. Okay. However, there are other additional important components to communication, and that is student to student. Okay? In an online course, you are all going to rely on one another to get through the course material. Okay? So, that said, we will have some group work that we have to do later as well. Okay? Moving on, please watch that video. It's only maybe 2 minutes long. And then here's a little bit of information about the discussion board guidelines. I kind of talked about it briefly up above. Read over this information about the discussion board, kind of what it is that is expected of you in terms of the requirements for the discussion posts. And the important thing to note is that in my experience, what I see happen most often, which becomes problematic, is responding to another student's post and maybe simply saying something such as, "Good post, nice work, good job." Okay? Your response to another student has to be something that is helpful to that student, maybe add some additional insight into that student's post that maybe the student did not see or did not convey to the rest of the class, or it can be some healthy criticism of the post as well. But I ask that if we're going to criticize in the post, and we should be critical, please do it in a professional and nice manner. Okay? Alright, so here I put in here some tips for online learning. Maybe if you haven't taken online classes before, you could get something out of this. Even if you have, there may be some points in here that you find helpful. Then the other thing I put in here too, and this picture here is actually a link to an external website, and that website gives you some information about how to survive group projects in an online class, and we will be working a lot in groups in this course. Okay. Here's a group work rubric. This is what I use to grade any group work that we have. The important piece here is that you will be graded as a group. However, if you note the last criteria in this rubric here is individual performance. So I am going to have a good sense of individual performance in the group, and I do that in a number of different ways. And this is most especially for the final project, is that you will all assess one another in the group, and I will get that feedback from you. Okay, so I use what you provide to me, what I see in the course, the amount of work that the student is engaging in and participating in the group work, and then I will base the individual performance grade on those factors, those objective factors. It's not subjective, it's all objective. Okay? And that's why I like to use the rubrics. So if you have any questions about that, I can certainly address those questions anytime throughout the course. There's my little Muttley barking today. He's waiting for the mailman, so apologize for that background noise. Okay, so then here it is. I mentioned earlier you have student introduction. So what you will do here is click on the student introductions link, and then for the initial thread, this is for all discussion boards, you will create a thread. So you click on create a thread, you put the subject in here, so it could be, put my last name and introduction, and then this is where you will directly type in your course introduction. Now I will warn you with this, with Blackboard, and I learned this from experience myself, is that if you're going to be typing a long introduction, then it may be better for you to type it in Word and then copy and paste it into here. Okay. The reason for that is that you may time out. So if you're in here typing and you're 10 minutes, maybe the phone rings or answer the phone, maybe your kids need you, you're cooking supper, you're doing 10 things at one time, as we do all juggle various things in our lives. You come back here and then you hit click on submit, and then it times you out and you lose everything. That does happen. So my recommendation, if it's going to be a lengthy post, type it out in Word and then submit it in here. Okay. Now I will tell you that there are two different ways that you can submit. You can submit as text, or you can submit as attaching a file. I would prefer, please, and this just has to do with the flow of the communication in these discussion boards, that you please type it directly in here and not attach as a file, unless I ask you to do that. There may be times, I think there are a couple times, where I'll ask you to attach your post as a file. Okay? And then in that case, it's quite fine to attach it here. Okay? The other thing you don't want to do is, well, it's actually, that screen's not showing on mine right now, so I'll disregard that. But make sure this is where your text goes here. Okay? And this helps too in terms of my grading, and I can see the flow of the discussion boards from my end in my instructor area that I like to use to keep track of the discussion board posts and the flow of things. Okay? Alright, I'm going to back out of here. I'm going to cancel out of that for now. So post your initial discussion board, and the important thing there with that is that you make sure to post it. Go back to where I was here. Lost my place. Bear with me a second. Okay. Make sure that you post the initial discussion board, and the date is here, before Wednesday, January 11th, 11:59 p.m. The reason for that is that, and why it's so important, is that I use this as the official roster verification for the course. So on Thursday morning, I'll submit my roster verification to the registrar's office at the Mount, And for anybody who has not participated in the student discussion, by Thursday morning when I wake